Եվ այսպես Banadzevն է եթերում եւ կենսաթոշակային կուտակային համակարգի մասին այսօր խոսելու ենք Հայաստանում Արժույթի միջազգային հիմնադրամի մշտական ներկայացուցիչ Yulia Ustyugovայի հետ. Thank you, Yulia, for accepting our invitation. The first question is the last decision or the very first one of the government is to implement the founded pension system. How do you assess that?
Thank you for inviting me. And I should say that we agree with the government's decision to proceed with the pension reform. This is the necessary step and the best policy option available. And I would like to underscore that this is not a new reform, that's a new pension system that is being introduced. In fact, this system has already existed for more than 4 years. And what is happening right now, the government decided to expand the coverage of the existing pension system to include all private sector workers into that.
The main concern is that we have to wait about 30 years to be sure that this system is effective. What would you say for that?
In our assessment, the step to continue with the funded pension system is the best way to address the elderly poverty 30 years down the road, because the workers today will have sufficient time to accumulate assets to ensure meaningful pension when they retire. So this is the way to ensure better social protection down the road. But also keep in mind that the assets, the savings of the workers will be managed by two very well-known, globally well-known pension asset managers. These are big companies that work in many countries, actually a dozen countries around the world, both middle-income countries like Armenia, but also advanced economies. And those companies have already delivered impressive rate of return over the last years.
You've met with Prime Minister Pashinyan.
Yes, I have.
How do you assess new government's financial policy and accuracy?
Financial policy and accuracy. I've met with Mr. Pashinyan. I've also met with different other members of the government.
Minister of Finance,
yes.
I'm sure.
And the topics that we discussed, they were very different, but there was one common theme in all the meetings. There was a resolve to address corruption, to improve transparency, to fight the shadow economy. And these are all very powerful messages that will deliver its benefit after some time. So this combination, that the trust that the new government has, people's trust, and the resolve to address difficult social issues, structural issues, can go far.
How fight against corruption and economic activity are interrelated?
They are closely interrelated, and in fact, corruption is a phenomena. It's a macroeconomically critical phenomena that prevents from sustainable economic development in many countries. And corruption can be very different. It can be very well hidden and it can be easily addressed. But in most countries, those two phenomena, those two types of corruptions are interrelated. And the new policies that the new government is targeting and suggesting, I'm sure that they will pay the dividends, but it will take probably years rather than months to see them. And those dividends will be higher growth, more investment, both private and public and foreign investment, like more jobs, better paying jobs, better life. But the experience, international experience, suggests that we must be patient and the results cannot be delivered overnight.
So this new expectation that tomorrow will be billions of investment, what happened just in one night?
So this is what we have observed in different countries, because
it takes time.
It takes time. New policies, no matter how good they are, it takes time to fully implement them, to make sure that they are effective, that they deliver result. But there is no reason not to go ahead with this difficult but very important economic reforms.
To wait how long?
It is hard to
say. Months,
say.
Years,
I wouldn't
decades.
say months. I would say years.
One of the phenomena of political events occurred in April and May that the national currency stood strong, and the banking system was very strong, in a strong stance. How do you evaluate that? What has happened?
Well, I have to congratulate the Armenian authorities on the ability to maintain the resilience of the financial system during those political events. And this is due to the strong supervisory and regulatory practices of the central bank, that the banking sector is well capitalized and has strong liquidity buffers. And in fact, the additional liquidity that was provided to the banking sector was relatively moderate compared to the previous episodes of uncertainty. The exchange rate, as you mentioned, has been relatively stable, and the central bank managed to preserve its adequate international reserve levels. So, all in all, the banking system of Armenia continued building up its strong track record of navigating through the bumpy periods.
This is the year that the IMF is celebrating 25 years cooperation with Armenia. How do you assess the reforms and all joint projects that you have done here?
In fact, we have already been cooperating with Armenia for more than 25 years, since 1992, and we had 9 financing programs with Armenia, but also supported the authorities with technical assistance and capacity building in statistical, fiscal, monetary and financial areas. And we think that our joint journey has been successful, because one can see the evolution of the goals of the programs, joint programs between Armenia and the IMF. The early programs were aimed at building the functioning market-oriented economy, building up economic institutions from scratch, introducing currency, Armenian currency, addressing external imbalances. And later programs, they were more sophisticated, aimed at addressing macroeconomic shocks that came from abroad, maintaining macroeconomic stability, implementing reforms, and improving policy frameworks. So Armenia today is very different from what it was 25 years ago. It graduated from the low income to middle income status. It gained access to capital markets. We believe that IMF helped in many respects with macroeconomic policies, and those are important achievements.
And my last question for you personally, is it exciting time to be around, to be Armenia, to see what's happening?
It is extremely exciting. I'm very grateful to be here in Armenia when important changes are happening and when the new government comes out with an important resolve to address corruption, improve governance, and address shadow economy.
And you're ready to help?
IMF always stands ready to help.
Okay, thank you very much for your interview. Սիրելի հերթադիտողներ, ես հիշեցնեմ, որ մենք զրուցում էինք Հայաստանում Մարժույթի միջազգային հիմնադրամի մշտական ներկայացուցիչ Յուլիա Ուստյուգովայի հետ։ Մեր զրույցի առիթը այս շաբաթ ամենակարևոր իրադարձության կենսաթոշակային կուտակային համակարգի կառավարության ներդրման որոշումն էր, որի առիթով ըստ էության Արժույթի միջազգային հիմնադրամի մշտական ներկայացուցիչը ասաց, որ համակարգը արդեն 4 տարի գոյություն ունի, ուղղակի այս որոշմամբ շահառուների շրջանակն է ընդարձակվում եւ հենց այս բարեփոխումը, որը թերևս ամենազանգվածայինն է, ամենաարմատականը եւ ամենաերկարաժամկետը Հայաստանի պատմության ընթացքում վերջի 20 տարիների ընթացքում, շատ առանցքային նշանակություն ունի երկրի հետագա գործունեության եւ տնտեսական ակտիվության համար։ Այսքան եթե բացեք թողել մեր զրույցը, այժմ գովազ, իսկ մինչեւ այդ ահային թեմաները, որի մասին կզրուցեն իմ գործընկերները, թողարկման երկրորդ հատվածում։